is up, everyone, and welcome to my review of the Gazette album Ninth. It is their ninth studio record. The Gazette are a phenomenal visual K-band from Japan. Ninth was released on 13 June in most markets. I'm not going to go into a big history of the band, but they've certainly evolved their sound over the years from a pop punk band with a lot of influences to bringing in industrial and electronic elements and a lot of alternative rock elements to fusing metal and industrial in records like Ninth and Division and Toxic to the full out in your face metal record that was Dogma. And I will be doing a review on Dogma and getting back to Dim and Stacked Rubbish at some point soon, as well as touching on some others. But we're talking about Ninth, and we can't talk about it without addressing some of those other records a little bit, because Ninth really is a culmination of who they were and showing us what they are and what they have become. You can listen to Dogma and you can tell that they're evolving as a band, that they're finding their way, that both guitar players are finding their way, writing heavier stuff, and really figuring out who they are. And when you hear Ninth, it really does have that feeling like it is a showcase of where they came from, but who they are. And it's an incredible record, in my opinion. I'm very happy with it. I think it is a very accessible record in so many ways, and I will tell you why. But the more I listen to it, and I've probably listened to it about 30 times straight through, as well as going through the different tracks and really picking out things about it that I love and I wanted to share with you, I feel like it's like listening to a musical play. There's acts spaced through these tracks. You have the opening with 9999, which is a collection of the intros of previous records. Little parts here and there, so it provides that nostalgia for fans, and it rewards those fans with little tastes of the records of yore. And it's those nice little tidbits, those little Easter eggs that get you primed for the rest of the record. It's also really nice as a newer listener when you can hear that and think, man, this is just a really cool industrial electronic track. I wonder what the rest of the band is going to sound like. So it's great for the longtime fans, it's phenomenal for a new listener, and it opens the record well. What I'm calling the first act starts at track 2. It starts with the track Falling. I love the opening to the track. I think it's beautiful. It has really strong atmospherics, and Ruki has a beautiful vocal throughout it. You get these wonderful heavy grooves and some synth tones, some really strong dynamics. It has a great mix of your heavy and clean passages. And the entire record, or the entire song, is stacked with really well performed vocals. The vocals are on display throughout this record. If you are a fan of a dynamic vocalist with a really strong, well-developed range, then you're going to like the record, and that's certainly apparent when you start listening to Fallen. There's a short wah-drench solo. The chorus is incredibly infectious. The ending synth tones just transition seamlessly into the next track, Odd Smell. It's really great, Fallen is a really great mix of those heavy, crunching passages and a lot of those sugary, sweet melodies and choruses. And quite honestly, that's going to be a similar pattern throughout the record. You're going to get a ton of ear candy in different varieties on the record. The second track in what I'm calling Act 1 is Odd Smell. It's the third track on the record. There's a really strong industrial element present. Seamless transition into the opening riffs, punctuated by just this massive, heavy, thundering tom sound. Really harkens back to Dogma with the industrial tinge riffs and that driving sound. There's some really cool harmonics going on here and there. Mix of the aggressives and cleans is amazing. There's an amazing dynamic. They've got these really phenomenal clean vocals over this crunchy main riff into some more aggressives, and there's a shift at 150 is truly a highlight for me of the track. It's this great dynamic shift with really strong clean vocals and some really nice tremolo riffing. They do a really good job in this record of using some of that little tremolo riffing here and there as an accent or coloring throughout the tracks, and I really, really enjoy that touch. You can tell both guitar players have truly evolved as players, and you get a lot of the accents, you get a lot of the little nuances here and there that just add more quality to the tracks you're listening to. The fourth track, the last track in what I'm considering Act 1, is Gush. Gush has this really awesome, spanky guitar opening. Really like those almost strat-like tones. Really enjoy them. I think they're outstanding. It shifts into a great moving bass line and a really great effect-soaked vocal. In previous records, I haven't been as much of a fan of some of the effects that Ruki has had put on his voice, but in tracks like Gush, I feel like it works. I feel like it's really effective, and it's adding to the mood and the atmosphere that they are attempting to create with those tracks, with those usage of the effects on the vocals. The heavy industrial elements and the grooves of the track are infectious. The vibrato Latin cleans in the chorus really stand out, and they just were grabbing me as a listener. As I said before, the vocals are on display here. There is just a myriad of vocal ability and different vocals, different types of coloring, and falsettos, and vibrato usage, but in and out of falsetto and chest voice. You're gonna hear a lot of that on this record throughout the different tracks. There's a liberal sprinkling of the falsetto. Gush has some really nice driving riffs. The drummer, Kai, is all over this record. His hand is heavy. He's got phenomenal fills in this track as well as throughout the record. Now, track 5 shifts into what I am calling Act 2. And that starts out with The Mortal. It shifts really seamlessly, but it's a sonic shift from the first 3 tracks, or the first 3 actual tracks. It's a sonic shift from Falling, from Odd Smell, and Gush. It opens up with a haunting atmospheric, this massive pounding drum sound, and this big crushing riff that reminds me a lot of 11 Dreams and Hours That Remain are a mercenary. It's down-tuned, it's heavy, it's just got this beautiful sound to it, and it wants to pull the listener into that darkness. I get chills from listening to those openings. It's phenomenal. Massive drum sound, the subtle, clean vocals are just, they're ear candy. They really are. And like I said, there's so much of it going on in this record. The vocals, along with so many other elements, the vocals are a standout. Ruki is at the absolute top of his game here. The vocals are chilling. They build into this humongous post-chorus that starts at the 2-minute and 2-second mark in the track. It's a masterstroke. The build starts at 153, and you get into this gigantic post-chorus at the 2-minute and 2-second mark. It's heavy. It's got this heart-wrenching vocal, and it gives me chills. It makes my skin crawl. It's absolutely one of my favorite tracks on the record and one of my favorite parts of that track. Some really beautiful, incredibly strong vibrato usage right around that 310 mark. And again, it's gut-wrenching. It just hits. It's an incredible track, and it really marks a shift again into that Act 2. Track 6, Utsu Semi, otherwise known as Emptiness. It's a different track. It's got this beautiful atmospheric sound to it. It seamlessly shifts into this almost twisting pop punk like riff, and it just builds. It's full of dynamics that they're managing to get out of this alt rock, pop punky sound. And it's really a treat for bass players and drummers, because the drummer Kai, the bass player Reita really shine. They've got some incredible moments on the track. Beautiful, thick, rich bass tones with some really inspired fills and cymbal work. They're a phenomenal rhythm section, and what they're doing really allows both guitar players and the vocalist to shine even brighter. It's a really strong backbone. You'll notice it throughout the record. The track really feels like a bridge to me. It's like a breath. You go from that crushing crunch of the Mortal, because it's just that slow pummeling grind to those riffs and those big vocals, and Emptiness gives you that pop punk, slightly happy breath, and then you get smacked in the face with Sonokoe wa moroku. I know I pronounced that badly, and I'm certainly not nearly as fluid and making it sound all silky like Ruki does in the track. But this track is a beautiful, moving power ballad that would be at home in the early to mid 90s in an alt rock record. It's dynamic. It has these beautiful atmospherics and clean guitars that open it up. It sucks you straight in to just this heart-tugging vocal. Reita and Kai once again are on their game, and they are building a great backbone for the beautiful guitar tones, both heavy and clean, and the vehicle for Ruki's dynamic vocals to shine. He has these points in the chorus where he's utilizing this chest voice into this silky smooth falsetto, And if you're not connecting with it, I don't know what's wrong. Because the first time I heard the track, it grabs me. And when I'm listening to the track straight through, I'm waiting for the track. Because I know it's coming when I'm listening to the record. And I know it's going to hit like the proverbial sledgehammer. The guitar playing throughout the track, the heavies, the cleans, are awesome, but they culminate right at the 3 minute and 5 second mark with these phenomenal, tasteful leads that they're trading off back and forth every couple of seconds, providing that massive build that's going to take you into the final chorus and roll you out through the end of the track. Just an outstanding ballad, and it really does fit with the rest of the record. But again, it does have that feeling like you're in that second group, that second act of tracks. What I'm calling Act 3 starts with the mighty Babylon's Tattoo. It's just got this filthy, industrial, edged madness to it. Rookie has these twisting, bending vocals. It's just like you feel guilty listening to his voice here because he's teasing you with all of these different edges to his voice. This dirty, semi-clean, these big growls, almost playful like clean delivery. I wish I had the lyrics to this one because it just kind of makes you feel dirty listening to it. It really does. It's got some. It honestly, it's a vocal porn. It's just got some phenomenal vocals over these really strong, industrial laced, heavy riffs at points, really strong, thumpy, thundering bass work. And you've got these really great guitar accents going on in the choruses. It's a fun track to me, and if you're a fan of industrial edge dirtiness, I think you're going to enjoy it. The next track, bero. It kind of continues that dirty, filthy electronic nastiness. You get an onslaught of really heavy and punk-inspired guitar work. Really strong grooves. And more of Rookie's vocal acrobatics. He is just really putting on a vocal clinic, and the placement of where he's using those vocals is really well constructed, and that is a theme throughout the entire record. It's got a familiar feel, and it's just an enjoyable track. It fits really well, and it fits nice in that mid spot of that third act. The third track in the series, track 10, is two of a kind. Groovy slap bass lines going on in parts of the track. Some really cool spoken word stuff. Fans of Slipknot and Mercenary are absolutely going to enjoy what's going on in the chorus. It shifts into some massive vocals. It's got a really cool noise solo at the 2 minute mark. And it adds a really dark vibe to the track. It's incredibly dynamic. And it just flows effortlessly from the beginning to the end of the track. It's a solid track in the midst. There's a solid solid's not even the right word. It's a really good track in the midst of a bunch of really good tracks. Abhor God. Abhor God is the last track in what I am calling Act 3. It's just got a crushing groove, some really strong slash throat vocals. The gang chant is really, really cool and helps build some really nice intensity. The build at 117 into this awesome sing-along chorus at 120 is fantastic. I truly enjoy it, and it's a part that really stands out to me in the track. The chant kicks in at 132. It really sweetens the track up, and it's going to be a phenomenal track to hear live. I think it's going to be one the band will enjoy playing. I think it's going to be one that the fans are going to enjoy listening to and seeing, because there's a lot of potential for crowd interaction there, and I think you're going to be able to really have a lot of ask and answer with those gang vocals and some of the big vocal chants. And the riff, the crushing riffs that kick in at the very end of the track, it leaves you wanting more. It's just got that, it kicks back in with that heavy crushing groove to roll the track out and to finish up what I consider Act 3. And we get to the last track on the record, what I consider to be the encore. And that happens to be the track Unfinished. And I was surprised when I first heard it, and even though I know it's coming, I'm still happily and pleasantly surprised every time I get a chance to hear it. Because it's a really good track. It's this glorious pop punk riffing with slight electronic elements into this happy chorus that just makes you want to move your body. It makes you want to move your head. It makes you want to bounce along to it. It's just really, really, really enjoyable. And it has a lot of that stacked rubbish like blend of that pop punk sensibility of yesteryear that a lot of the older Gazette fans truly appreciate. The solo at the 2-minute and 6-second mark with those really cool tapped harmonies, it's got a really great bridge in the shift at 224, and just have these massive tones. Ruki's vibrato is fantastic, and it punctuates the shift into that final massive poppy chorus that takes us to the end of the record. And every time I finish this record, this track leaves me with that happy post incredible amazing album euphoria. You listen to some of the earlier Gazette records, go back and listen to Dim Scene, which is heavy and nasty in a combination of all the tracks on that record. You go listen to the end of Stack Rubbish, which is this beautiful, powerful, insanely depressing track. You listen to the end of Dogma, and I get to the end of Dogma, and I feel like I got my ass kicked. I have this wonderful, upbeat, happy euphoria of, it's like we just went out and climbed a mountain, we got to the top, we've hit the summit, and now it's, you know what? Let's go climb another mountain. Let's go listen to another record. Not, oh my God, my soul is crushed. My world is ending. I had to sneak a mercenary reference in there. But just, it's a great track and I love the way they set the track order up. It's one thing to write a really strong record. It's another thing to make sure the order on that record is right, where it has the impact and the effect that you want your record to have on the listener. And the whole record has that homage to what they were. There's tracks that sound very reminiscent of their earlier work. In the nil, the stock rubbish days, you get some of that industrial insanity of Toxic and Division and some of the really heavy industrial metal elements that were really prevalent on Dogma. But you also get a lot of those really strong melodies, really strong vocals, very happy pop punk like vibes and feelings. And I feel like this record is almost like a Gazette jukebox. Like you dropped in a quarter, or dropped in enough for an entire record, and it's just giving you hints of what they were, only it's what they've become. It's still some of those elements, but it's with their increased songwriting chops. It's with the hard work and dedication that Ryuki has put into his vocals. If you go back and you listen to very early Gazette, let's be honest, he was struggling to sing. If you listen to what he has become and the work and the effort that he has put in to grow his range and to become comfortable being this dynamic powerhouse of a singer, it's impressive. It really is. And their work and their effort pay off. I really do believe that. I think this shows the band at their peak performance. Both guitar players have turned in some phenomenal songs. I can't fault any of the performances on the record. Ryuki turns in a great vocal performance. At first, I was a little iffy about the mix. I do think the mix on Dogma was a little better. The drums on Ninth are a bit forward for me, but the more I listen to it, and with different sets of headphones on several different sound systems, I don't think it's as bad. I've certainly it might just be that I've gotten used to it having given it so many listens. But I don't mind the mix. I do think it could be tweaked a little bit here and there. I do think if they were able to work with Josh Wilder for the entire record, things would be a little better mixed. They'd be a little bit more organic, and the levels might be where more people would prefer them. But it's certainly leagues better than the mixes of yesteryear on stuff like Stack Rubbish and Nil, and even a little bit better than I think the mix was on Dim. As there are certainly tracks that have that familiar formula. That intro, verse, chorus, verse, post-chorus, solo or bridge, then your chorus and your outro. But the tracks are very fluid. They flow very, very well. And I enjoy them. I don't feel like there's a lot of repetition in those tracks. They've done a really good job with transitioning from their different elements and making it sound seamless and effortless, and I think that's the mark of a great band and good compositions. Picking favorites on a record is always tough, especially on a record like Ninth. But I certainly have ones that I love. Falling is a track that I just can't get enough of. I think it's incredible. I love Odd Smell. The Mortal is one of my favorite Gazette tracks that I have ever heard. As a huge fan of Mercenary, I really appreciate those elements. Those huge drum sounds, the big, thunderous riffs, but they're heavy, they're slow, and they're grooving, and the absolutely chilling, powerful, conviction-laden vocals. Love, love, love that track. Emptiness is this wonderful pop punkish, beautiful song, and it's another favorite. I'd be remiss to not mention Sonokoe wa Moroku and Babylon's Tattoo. They're both enjoyable, fun tracks. I just love that dirty, industrial feel of Babylon's Tattoo. I love how listening to Ricky's voice really does almost feel like a guilty pleasure. And it really does have that vocal porn feeling. He's just putting on a phenomenal, phenomenal performance. And the ending track, Unfinished, is just something special. It's a happy Gazette track, which is not always something you expect. It's certainly not something you expect for them to close a record with. And it's really nice to see that they're still capable of writing a track like that, but injecting all of the polish that they've and the chops that they've accrued over the years of being players. The band is never going to be able to recreate the magic of earlier records. You're not going to be able to write the exact same song without writing the exact same song, but even then, it's probably not going to have the conviction of what they did before because they're not in that headspace anymore. They're not in that same space when they wrote the track. But to see that they're still capable of writing a song that has that awesome mashed together set of influences with that great pop punk vibe and that alternative feel of Unfinished is awesome. And I think it really is endeared to me even more because of the placement. I think it absolutely belongs on the end of the record, and I think it's a reward for getting through the last 3 tracks in Act 3, that heavier industrial tinged nastiness of those tracks. And overall, it's a phenomenal record, in my opinion. I think it is a very easy to get into record. At this point, if I have somebody that says, hey, I would like to hear more about the Gazette and I want to listen to a record, this is the record I'm going to give them. I'm going to recommend, hey, you should go check out Ninth. Because it combines their best elements. It combines the elements of their past with the songwriting and the musicianship of the present. And it even gives you a little bit of a hint of where they're probably going to go. And I love that they reward the listeners of old with some tracks that will harken back to what they did previously. I love that they reward the fans that came in on Dogma with with some of that heavier, really intense, dark nastiness. And they made a record that is going to be easy enough for a new fan to listen to it, and you can tell them, hey, this track sounds kind of like this record. This track is a little bit of nod to that record. So you can educate them about the band, all the while handing them one record, kind of like handing them a mixtape in a way, but it's an actual album. Do I recommend the album? Absolutely. In fact, I just gave a car, or just told my buddy he should check it out, and he's so happy that he purchased a copy. I've bought a copy. I know many of you out there have bought a copy. I know some of you are probably on the fence. But do I think it's worth your coin? Absolutely. It was certainly worth mine. So, if you're on the fence about buying it and you're a big Gazette fan, don't be. They certainly are worthy of your cash. This is certainly a fantastic record. And I truly think that if you haven't listened to it already, you enjoyed it. And I certainly hope you enjoy the in-depth review that I've provided for you. If I'm going to give it a rating on a 10-point scale, I'm going to give it a 9, maybe a 9.2. It's not a perfect record. The mix could certainly be a little bit better. If the mix was right where I wanted it, I would easily slide that up to like a 9.8. It's going to be hard for me to reward a perfect score, and honestly, a perfect score is probably unobtainable because I don't believe anything's ever going to be perfect. But this is a phenomenal record, and I think it's worthy of your collection, even if you're not a J-Rock or a Visual K fan. It has so much for a fan of metal or a fan of industrial-laced music or alternative or slightly pop-punky stuff that I don't feel like you have to be a fan of Visual K or J-Rock to enjoy what Ninth offers you. So, if you haven't bought the copy, go buy one. Support the band. Hopefully catch them on their tours when they decide to announce them. And thank you guys so much for watching my review. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. Do you like me going through track by track and giving you real specific stuff on what I enjoyed and what I've heard and picked out? Let me know. I always appreciate your feedback. I certainly appreciate the incredible amount of support. If you like this and you think other people will, please share it and give me a little bit of love. I would certainly appreciate it, guys and gals out there. Thank you to all of my six guns out there who have been so phenomenal and instrumental in getting me into the band and walking me through this amazing journey of not just the Gazette, but Visual K in general. I truly, truly appreciate all of you very much. Thank you to my law enforcement, military, veterans, and first responders for what you do every day. I love you guys. I truly do. As always, you have been awesome. I have been Baldman. I will see you in the next one. Be excellent to each other and keep head back.